Hey, beauty friends, it's Meredith from Beadalon and Artistic Wire, teaching today's Michael's Community Classroom class all about adhesives. So welcome. While we're waiting for everybody to pop on here, I would love to get a hello in the chat and let me know where you are from. And also, if you have any specific questions about the glues, I am flying solo today. Well, of course, I've got Kelly, our wonderful moderator extraordinaire, but Yvette from Beadalon will not be hanging out over in the chat. So I am going to be very cognizant of trying to read all of the comments and answer any questions as they go along. But if I do miss something, I do apologize, and please feel free to keep asking that question if I didn't get a chance to see it. Sometimes I'm really good at seeing the comments as they scroll through, of course, when we are doing our live classes, but sometimes I get very excited about what I'm making and I get a little distracted. So welcome everybody who is here. Welcome back, friends who have joined me for many of the classes that I have taught for the Michael's Community Classroom over the past year and a half or so. And welcome to anybody who is new and just checking out the class today because you are very interested in learning about adhesives or glues. I'll use both terms interchangeably, but I think you all know what I mean. All right, so there are 4 different glues that Beadalon has in Michael's stores. And if you're a gluer, if you do use a lot of glue in your projects and you make some projects, please go ahead. I'm going to remind you again, but when you post on your socials, make sure that you use the hashtag Make It With Michaels as well as hashtag Beadalon, because both Michaels and we at Beadalon love seeing what you make. You can also find me on my Instagram. And if you have any questions, any specific questions that I might have glossed over or not answered to their fullest, you can always feel free to reach out to me there. And my Instagram is at Meredith Joy Designs. So I think without further ado, I'll remind everybody that this class is being recorded, as Kelly mentioned in the beginning, and you can always go back and rewatch it to your heart's content to see how I've demonstrated something. If I didn't get a chance to maybe go over it or you missed it the first time I went along. So usually about 24 to 48 hours after class, they are posted on the Michael's Community Classroom, which is also a really good reminder that there is an amazing abundance and wealth of beading, jewelry making, and crafting knowledge over on the Michael's Community Classroom YouTube, well, on the Michael's YouTube channel over in the Community Classroom part of it. Oh my gosh, I have learned so much from these wonderful classes, as I'm sure you all have learned as well. So let's get right to it. Kelly, if you can go ahead and take that overhead camera for me. We're going to talk about glues. So there are 4 different glues, as I mentioned, from Beadalon that Michael's carries. And I'm going to talk about each of them in turn. And you can see I have one here. This is the Beadalon GS Hypo cement. You might just know it under its kind of colloquial term as GS Hypo cement, but this is the Beadalon branded Hypo that is in Michael's. Then we have 2 different looking packages under the Bead Fix Gel name. And one of them is, I'm sorry, under the Bead Fix name. One is the gel and one is the traditional Bead Fix. These are both super fast adhesives. We're going to talk about the similarities and the differences in them, but I like to keep them together because as a glue, as an adhesive, they are the same chemical background, the same chemical makeup. And then lastly, we're going to be talking about the Bead Fix Epoxy. Now, this is a 30-minute epoxy that comes in 2 different parts, and we are going to get all into the ins and the outs of that as we go along. So again, 4 different SKUs in Michael's that you'll find, 4 different glues, and 4 glues that have similar, some overlapping, and some unique properties and unique functions. So let's get right into it. Let's first talk about the GS Hypo cement. I think that this is a glue that many people are familiar with. This is what it looks like outside of the package. I use this a lot in my demonstrations and in my classes, so I'm sure that you are familiar if you've been hanging out with me talking about this. There are two main things that I use the Beadalon bead stringing glue for, or the GS Hypo cement, and I will use those terms interchangeably in our class today. The first and more traditional use is in pearl knotting. So I have over here a strand of pearls that I have pre-strung and done a little bit of knotting with over here. But what I want to do and what I want to show is how I use that bead fix. I'm sorry, I'm going to do that sometimes today, and I apologize. Got a lot of glue swirling around on the brain. That bead stringing glue, or that hypo cement. Let me bring that package right back in here so we can be sure that we know what we're talking about. The way that I use this the most is when I'm doing pearl knotting or knotting beads on silk. And when I finish my knots off, and again, this is not a pearl knotting class. For that, you can go back and watch in the archives. We've actually done that before. But I'm just going to show really quickly how I finish off a knotted design. And again, not today's class, but if you were finishing up a knotted design, you would use the beads that you had reamed out. Excuse me, you would knot in between them. And I think I forgot the second part of that first knot, but that's okay because we're only doing it for demonstration's sake. And then when you get to this third knot, what you would do is you would again go back down through that bead. And this is where the glue comes in. So let's see, back down through that bead. And the great thing about the bead stringing glue, oops, got a little pre-knotted in there. I was using my awl as my pointer device, and now I have lost it. Where I have nothing if not things to poke things with. So we're just going to use a little needle here to pull that out. Somehow that got a little split on itself. Nothing like a little designing disaster. So the Hypo cement, or the bead stringing glue, is perfect for this application because it dries clear, it won't bond to fingers, and it's not going to damage this silk. Okay. The other thing that's great about this glue is it has a precision applicator, pinpoint precision applicator right here. Okay. Do you see how small that applicator is? The other thing that I want to point out is I'm not squeezing this tube at all. The warmth from my fingers is actually what is making that little droplet come out the end of that glue. Let's get that guy back into focus. I've got a couple too many things going on in my background. So what you would do here is you would take that little droplet and just very gently insert it or get it squozen down into that bead. And what that does is it makes for a perfect, let's just get that right back in before I keep talking. I don't want glue coming out anywhere. It makes for a perfect hold for those 3 beads at the end or beginning of your knotted design. What you would do next is actually wait for an hour or so, just for that to dry off. Just between you and me, I don't always wait, but I always recommend waiting. And then you snip off the shorter side and then you continue with your knotting. This is where I use that hypo cement the most. Again, it dries clear. It will discolor that silk just a little bit, but once you have the other bead there, it's going to cover up that discoloration, and you're really not going to see it that much at all. So that's my first go-to use for the GS Hypo cement. Similarly, if I am making tassels with my silk, you can see here on the end, because it's silk, because it's twisted, because it's a natural material, it has a tendency to fray out like this on the ends. So what you can do if you are making tassels, or if you're making anything where you need to have that end not fray, what you can actually do is, before you cut it, do that very same thing. Just allow the warmth of your hand to start that glue flowing. It is so tempting to want to push down on this, but a little patience goes a long way to just getting that little drop on. And then I have a little paper towel over here. I should be in better practice of wiping that off before I put the cap back on. So I'm going to try to do that today. Glasses help with getting that little applicator back in. But if you don't hold it so much that it starts oozing out of the container, you shouldn't have too bad of a mess when you put everything back in together. So those, I would let that dry. And then what I would do is I would come in and I would snip right below it. And then you're not going to have that big fray like over here on this side where I didn't glue it. Just a little thing you don't want. If you do want big frays at the end of your tassels, that's great. But if you don't, this is a really good way to stop that from happening. Okay, so that is the silk and the GS Hypo. Another really good tip that I had actually forgotten about until I was rereading over the information that we have posted about our GS Hypo cement is it's a really cool way of making illusion necklaces or floating designs. So I've done a couple of tutorials using crimp beads or crimp tubes to hold the beads in place on an illusion style design. But I was reminded that you can actually use the GS Hypo cement to glue your beads in place instead of using a crimp tube. I'm so glad that I teach these classes because there's so much information to be had and to keep in my little brain over here. And I don't know about you guys, but these days I'm on information overload no matter what I'm doing. And so just to have a reminder that this is such a cool technique is really helpful for me. So hopefully it will be helpful for you as well. Now, the stringing material that I'm using for this is Supplemax Ultra. This is a material that is in Michaels. It's monofilament, just like regular Supplemax, or you might be more familiar with, if you think about fishing line, it's basically the same stuff. It's a monofilament, but the Ultra has a special coating on it that makes it less, for lack of a better word, plasticky. So it's much more thread-like and much more smooth, which I really like as a beader. So I glued this one on right before class, but I'm not going to tug on it because it hasn't quite set yet. The GS Hypo cement has a pretty fast set time, but as with all of these glues, I like to give them at least 24 hours for full curing. So this is one of those classes, a lot of information will be thrown at you all at once, but the handout that was sent when you signed up for class has all of the information that I'm going to mention. I have it actually open here up on my screen to make sure I don't forget anything, because as we all know these days, I am prone to that. And the great thing about the beads from Michaels, and I've mentioned this many, many times, but they have a really nicely sized hole. Let me actually hold that this way. You can see the light come through that hole. So I feel like the holes in the beads, even in this little 6mm bead, not too big, not too small, and perfect for this application. So what I did is I actually just tied an overhand knot here to give the bead and the glue a little bit more purchase, a little bit more surface area to adhere to. And all I'm going to do is, once again, I feel like I can't explain this or demonstrate it enough. I'm not squeezing, I'm just allowing that glue to start flowing. And making sure to reinsert the pin each time. It does get a little tedious, but you'll thank me just if you get into the habit of recapping your glue each time. And so it should just squeeze right over there and then hold right in place. And then you can move on to the next one. Again, it cures generally pretty quickly within minutes, but for full cure, you always want to wait at least 24 hours. I feel like you can never be it's better to be safe than sorry and allow it to cure for a full 24 hours. And then you'll have a really pretty illusion necklace without having to use those crimp tubes on either side. Get that. Does not want to focus. Let's see. There we go. Eventually it always focuses. So if you can imagine repeating this process several times, you have a really pretty illusion necklace. Again, like I mentioned, no crimp tubes. So options, we're all about offering different options for our adhesive and for our beading needs. So that's the GS Hypo Cement or the Beadalon bead stringing glue. Again, same product, just a different name. And just between you and me, if you're curious why, it's because in Michael's we have all of this information here on the back of the package in 3 different languages. So this is a really good time to stop and talk about glue safety. So whenever you are doing anything with glue, you always want to make sure that you are doing it in a well-ventilated area. You want to be wearing your safety glasses, and quite frankly, and we'll get to that in a moment, it's always good practice to use nitrile gloves. Is that what these things are called? Safety gloves, right? Because it is possible to glue your fingers together. It is possible to glue your fingers to your work. This stuff is dangerous, right? It's chemicals. It's nasty chemicals. It's got all of these warnings on them, right? Don't smoke nearby. Don't inhale the vapors. Of course, do not swallow them. Please keep them out of the glues out of reach of children and pets. And we're all grown-ups here, and we know the hazards of these strong chemicals. And the reason why they are hazards and why they have to be strong chemicals is because that's what makes glue really strong and really good adherence, right? If you used your Elmer's school glue or anything that would be safe for kids, paste, it's not going to, of course, glue the things that we need it to glue in the jewelry world. So again, just safety first, and know the trade-offs of having something be a really good adhesive is taking a moment, taking a bit of patience, and making sure that you are being safe. So the next 2 glues that I want to talk about are the Bead Fix and the Bead Fix Gel. Now, these are the same chemical makeup. They are a cyanoacrylate. So if you know that word, cyanoacrylate, you know that it, let's read our danger warning, bonds skin instantly. So once you start getting into this stuff, it's always a good idea to use your gloves. I am a finger gluer together. I will cop to that. I will admit to that. Don't be like me. Don't be a finger gluer together. It's not good. If it does happen, a good tip is don't let it happen. But also, I find that alternating hot and cold water together generally loosens up that bond enough to be able to get your fingers apart. But it's not pleasant, and I do not recommend it. I really do recommend using the gloves when you're using this stuff. So Bead Fix super fast adhesive. This is great for, let's see. So I'm gonna give some specific words here. It is a strong bond for metal to metal applications. It's also great for adhering glass, stone, metal, plastic, wood, and most types of beads. So this is really my go-to for many, many things. It's also very elastic. So it's good for using for knots in stretchy bracelets. Okay, it's water resistant and also quick setting. But again, you want to allow 24 hours drying time for maximum strength, even though it is a very quick drying glue. So what I like using this stuff for the most is gluing memory wire end caps to the end of memory wire. So that is what I wanted to, one of the things that I want to demonstrate this glue for. So memory wire, we have a bunch of different SKUs available in Michaels. And of course, you always, always, always cut your memory wire with what, friends? Let's all say it together. What do we always, always, always want? To cut our memory wire with our memory wire shears. So there's a question that just came through in the chat asking about the line. One of the reasons why I like to demonstrate with a more opaque material is so that you can see it. But the traditional Supplemax in like an 012 or even an 010 would be more of an illusion of an invisible look of for a necklace. So again, apologies if I misled you. The ultra is white because it's very much easier for me to show you when you can actually see what I'm doing. But the traditional Supplemax is a great material for using for the illusion necklaces. Similarly, I'm going to demonstrate with black elasticity. Most of us are used to seeing or used to not seeing the elasticity because we're using it in the clear, but that makes it very difficult to teach a class, right? So I'm going to show that also with the black elasticity. Now, where did I put out here? Right here. Okay, so my Bead Fix Gel, this is a new Bead Fix Gel that I opened up a week or so ago when I was demonstrating something else. And the great thing about the Bead Fix Gel is it's nice and thick. Okay, so Bead Fix, and I'm going to show the difference in just a moment, is a very, very thin, very runny glue, which has its purposes, right? Sometimes you need a glue that's a little bit runnier. I like the Bead Fix Gel because it is much, much thicker and will stay where I want it to stay. So similar to the GS Hypo Cement, of course, we want to make sure that we don't squeeze this out. It takes a little bit longer because of course it's thicker, but it's coming. And you'll see it in just a minute. Get some of this stuff out of the background so we can have a little bit better focus. And what I like to do, instead of trying to get this into the memory wire end cap, what I will actually do is put that little bit on the end of the memory wire, right? It's one of those aha moments that I had that was like, oh, well, duh, Meredith, that makes a lot more sense. Let's just make sure that everybody can see. And then I just put that on. And again, about 24 hours, I can clean this off with a little toothpick. If I had a little toothpick here, or if I could find my beading awl, I would do it with a beading awl. Maybe a piece of beading wire would work. Let's see. Just to clean off the little extra guzh that came out. And then in about 24 hours, that is going to be good to go. All right, so that's one of the things that I really, really like using the Bead Fix Gel for. I used to be a loop turner. on the ends of my memory wire. And oftentimes I'm still a loop turner on the ends of my memory wire. But if I want a little bit of a cleaner look, a little bit more of a professional, not necessarily professional, just a little bit of a different look, the Bead Fix Gel is perfect for this. Another thing that I like using the Bead Fix and the Bead Fix Gel for is, as I had mentioned, for stretch bracelets. And I did what I said not to do, which is not put the cap back on. So I'm going to remember to do this. A good question came through. Should you do this and then the next day add the beads? In a perfect world, sure. But are we generally that patient? No, I know I'm not. So, maybe go make yourself a cup of coffee. Or what I also like doing is I will put a loop on the end just temporarily, then do my design for my memory wire and then glue them both when I'm done. So instead of kind of how I showed and demonstrated here, putting it on, waiting, doing all the beads and then doing the other end, what I would actually do is do all the beads, then do one end and then do the other end and then let it dry. So it just kind of depends on where you are, if you're doing, some production work, if you're a patient or if you're not patient. But that's generally more often how I do it. All right, so I have some beads up or strung up on this elasticity stretch cord. Again, I'm using black just so that everybody can see a little bit better. But generally, your stretch cord that you're going to be using is probably going to be clear. Oop. Once again, I'm very close, so I apologize for bopping my camera. So a couple of different ways of tying this knot, kind of depending on what mood I'm in and what way I'm doing this. And you can see a couple of different ways that I do this. Oftentimes I will double my thread, but if I'm using a single thread and this is a 1.0 millimeter, I'll go ahead and do a surgeon's knot. So I did right over left, and here I'm doing, no, I did left over right, and now I'm doing right over left twice and tightening that up. My go-to tip for tightening elasticity or any stretch cord is stretching from all sides, right? You want to get in from the bottom and from the top. And then that's where this Bead Fix Gel comes in really well. And if you know me, you know I'm not a huge gluer of my knots on elasticity, but if I were a huge gluer, and it's usually just because oftentimes I make things just for demonstration purposes. But if I did want to glue this knot, the Bead Fix Gel is the material that I would use for that. So again, waterproof, stretchy, what else can I say? But again, I'm going to come back to it, bond skin instantly. So do as I say, not as I do. And if you are a messy gluer like I am, it's always a good idea to wear gloves for doing that. Let's see. Oh, okay. So another thing that, and I should take out my Bead Fix as well for this. And one thing that I do like to mention when I'm talking about Bead Fix is it has a shelf life once opened of about a year. Do I have bottles or tubes that I've had for much longer than that and they're fine? Yes, but that's what kind of the conventional wisdom, what we like to advise. If you all joined me for my veil making class, you probably saw me using these really fun glue-on veils to glue on my little turtle, who's so much fun, and then this really pretty flat bead. But I thought that if you hadn't seen that, it would be a good idea to revisit it using the Bead Fix Gel. I'm pausing because I grabbed these, but I did not grab the actual beads. So hopefully I have a couple extra in this little spot here. If not, we are going to have to improvise. All right, we're going to improvise, but that's okay because I have this guy right here and he will work just fine. So I believe, let me just double check when I open this guy up, that it doesn't need, bear with me for 1 second. I haven't opened one of these guys in a while. Oh, you know why? I remember. Memory serves. My Bead Fix is so confused. Let's learn together. Read and retain card for directions. Is this the one that you have to pierce the top? I'm so confused. I am so confused. Let's see. It came out of the thing just like this, my super fast adhesive. Cut tip near end. Recap and store upright. I'm doing something wrong. So while I'm figuring this out, one of the things that I want to talk about in terms of the Bead Fix is being really careful not to get this stuff on your clothing. So confused. You want to make sure that because if you get this on your clothes, especially if you get it on cotton, it is a very strange thing that happens. It's a very strange reaction. And what ends up happening is so funny. I don't often, evidently, I don't often use this kind of glue, but I do know that you need to cut this. Oh, you know what? I know what's happening. Okay. I know what's happening. So for whatever reason, my glue is not, the whole thing is unscrewing rather than just the cap unscrewed. Yep. So Michelle she hit the nail on the head. She said the applicator is probably glued to the cap, which is exactly what is happening. Oh my gosh, that's hysterical. All right, let me see. I think I have another one over here where the applicator is not glued to the cap. Bear with me for 1 second, beauty friends. There's nothing, if not never, a dull moment here on the Beadalon live classes. Let's see if this one, okay. All right, so that is something that's very, very important to learn. That I just learned. I was like, why is that not working? I know it's supposed to look like this and it's not. If that does happen and it is glued to the inside, just give us a call at Beadalon. We'll fix it for you. Sometimes it happens, it's glue. Again, I'm actually glad that that happened during class, because then you can see what happens. And all you need to do is just give us a call at Beadalon. We'll figure it out. But I knew something wasn't right because there's definitely another piece in there. And when I cut that top off, I can see it in there. I don't know if you can see it in there, but that's when I was like, all right, this is not good. So again, if that ever happens to you, it's just glue. Give us a call. We'll figure it out. We'll make it right. So here we go. This is what it should look like. And when it does come out new from the package, if it's not glued together, you'll just need to snip that little top off to get the glue. I did not plan it. I promise. I promise. Sometimes I do plan mistakes. I will. You know that I do sometimes plan the mistakes. That one was not planned. That one was fun. All right. So we're going to go ahead, and this might be a little bit clogged also. So we're going to get in here with our scissors. And it's true though, you know, and oftentimes in our jewelry making, we got to figure out how to solve the problems, right? We get these challenges with our materials, and we just kind of have to figure out how to solve the problems. And sometimes it's better to solve them together than it is apart. So Myra is asking, she was told to use nail polish on her knots. It's not the best of all possible ideas. Clear nail polish, it works. As a non-Beadalon product, I can't necessarily recommend it. it's not as elastic as glue-like as an actual glue, but if it works for you, that's kind of one of my always my go-to answers is if it works for you, if you use nail polish on your knots when you're using stretchy bracelets and that works for you and your bracelets are fine, then by all means, great. That's a great tip and a great hack. If you don't necessarily have the glue that I'm suggesting using, if it works for you, great. Sometimes not using glue works for me. Okay, so Bead Fix, now that we figured out the problem there, let's open this one back up and see what it's supposed to look like again. We'll just pretend like none of that ever happened. Again, very, very strong glue, but you want to really, really be careful that you don't glue your fingers together, that you don't spill this. Safety glasses are always recommended. Okay, sorry about that. Let me just make sure I haven't forgotten anything over here before we get to kind of the grand finale, which is the two-part epoxy. So I'm going to put all of my other glues and my demonstrations off to the side, so that we can focus on the two-part epoxy. Now, two-part epoxy in the land of glue is I would count it kind of at the top notch, the most strongest, the best glue for the job. And I'm just bringing a couple fun little things for us to play with into view. Because one of the things about the two-part epoxy is it is a one and done application. So these two little vials in here, these two little tubes in here, one is the resin and one is the hardener. And it's good to think of this as you would like a jewelry resin, like an ice resin, not a UV resin, but a two-part epoxy resin, because that's basically what it is, but a lot stronger. So it's two parts, you mix them together equally. Let's all say it together, mix them together equally. I'm sorry, I'm just reading back through the comments. I got distracted for a second. Donna is suggesting using Vaseline around the tip of the glue to keep it from gluing to the lid. That is an interesting idea. I've never heard that tip. I don't see why it wouldn't work. I can't think of why it wouldn't work. It's just, I don't think that it's necessarily, it's not necessarily necessary. But that's interesting. I'm gonna think on that a little bit more about that Vaseline tip. Okay, so the Bead Fix is two parts, and you want to make sure, and the tendency is always to not use both parts together, but you don't want to run the risk of the ratios being off. So what I suggest is getting all of the things that you want to get glued, get them all together, get them lined up, mix up your two parts, and you have about 20 to 30 minutes of working time. They call that pot time. I don't know why. If anybody knows why it's called pot time, let me know. But it's about 20 to 30 minutes. But you always kind of want to err on the side of doing it as fast as you can, which is why getting everything prepped beforehand is a good idea. And maybe that's not why, or maybe that's why I don't use this that often, because I'm not very good at getting lots of things prepped beforehand. I'm kind of a one-off kind of a gal. But if I was doing production work, if I had the foresight of actually planning ahead ever in my life, this would be the right tool for the job. So let me see if I can't get this off with getting all of the paper. Because what I like to do, and there are a couple of different ways that you can do this, but what I actually like to do is use the blister that comes with the Bead Fix on the card to mix it in. Sometimes people will use a little piece of tin foil. Sometimes people will use like a piece of cardboard. I don't like the cardboard idea because I feel like it could soak up some of the pieces and parts. And you can see I'm putting my gloves on because I don't mess around with 2-part epoxy. I'll mess around carelessly, more carelessly than I recommend with some of the other glues, but I don't mess around with 2-part epoxy. So I have a couple things out here that I am going to be using for my gluing. And I meant to go grab a set of toothpicks before I came down here, but we'll figure that out. What am I going to mix this with? I do need something to mix this with. I need a crafts. Luckily, I am not without craft sticks here in the beading studio. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to undo this, and you can see that it is a, oh, there's a name for it. It's escaping me. So what you actually want to do is pierce it with this side. But again, because actually I want to do the resin first. This front second. Pierce the seal. But there's a name for this seal. It's like a self piercing something. But you just want to make sure that when you do pierce this, when you're using the other side, you just want to do it away from your face. Just safety first. And then you want to make sure that you actually pierce it. And squeeze it all out. My glues, I am really struggling with my glues today. I don't know why that is happening to me. So do you guys ever have a day where things just aren't working out for you? That is one of the days that I am having today. Let's try that. So again, safety first with all of these things in the glue.
Hey, Mary,
glue. Yes.
it looks like your camera just switched. Oh, perfect.
It sure did. You know why? Because even though my husband knows that I teach a class every Wednesday from 2 to 3, somehow that is the time that he calls me every week. He also knows that I do a Facebook Live for Beadalon every Thursday from 2 to 3. And what time do you think he calls me on Thursdays?
Oh my gosh.
So that's why that happened. So thank you for letting me know, though. I thought I grabbed it, but and the best part is that he is at Target right now to pick up an order for me. And that is just not something that is going to be able to happen because I am doing resin or doing 2-part epoxy right now. Okay. So now what I want to make sure that I do, much like, and I know that a lot of people are really familiar with the ice resin or any kind of epoxy resin, you just want to make sure that you get both of these parts mixed up really well. And it will get a little warm and it will also get a little stinky, which is why you want to make sure that you are in a well-ventilated area while you are working with this. It really is very stinky. It should not matter if the glue is slower coming out of the tubes when it is old or when when it is cold or when it is warm. It's actually whether or not it is old or new. Glues do have a shelf life. It's just any glue that you get from any store from any type is going to have a shelf life. So once again, if you have a bum glue, if for whatever reason it came from us and it sat at a store for a really long time, just give us a call at Beadalon. We'll fix it. We'll make it right. All right, so now that I have this all nice and mixed up together, I have about 25 or so minutes with which to use it. So a little of the stuff goes a long way. And you can see that it is opaque right now because of the chemical reaction that's happening from it coming together. But when it dries, it will be clear. I'm just going to text my husband really quickly while we're doing this. Okay, so these little tiny popsicle sticks are great applicators. Toothpicks work really well. A little piece of 12 gauge wire, like a little scrap or a head pin scrap, is also really good. One of the things that this is great for is metal to metal. So if I have this really pretty ring right here, for example, and I want to put a charm, it's going to be a perfect way to do that. So let's see. It's hard, and part of the reason why I don't use epoxy a lot is because I find using epoxy with, or doing anything with gloves, can be a little bit of a challenge for me. I feel like it really impedes my ability to get stuff done, and I am going to ruin my nice mat with this epoxy. So I'm just going to pick that up, put it on the paper towel, and then I can come in here and glue my cute little charm down. And again, full cures in about 20 to 30 minutes, but you want to make sure that you give it a full 24 hours to cure. Totally. Okay, clear as it dries. I'm just looking back through all of the comments. Another really fun thing that I wanted to show with this glue is they have this really pretty, what would you call this? They're semi-precious stones, but they're more pendants, right? And I see them every time that I go into my local Michaels, and I haven't actually made a project with them yet. However, I finally have something really good in mind for an upcoming class that we're going to have using these pendants. So look for that in the new year. I think we have everything scheduled through January right now. So February, March, April, we're going to do a really cool class doing some wire wrapping with these guys. Spoiler alert. But anyway, what you can also do is I have these really fun flatback crystals, and I'm going to come here and use some of this 2-part epoxy and stick that down on the stone. So now I'm adhering glass to stone. And some great ideas are coming through on the comments, and I want to mention them for different materials that you can work on. I thought originally that my bead mat was going to be my fine material to work on, but then I was like, wait a second, I don't want to ruin my nice bead mat if I can. So good ideas are tinfoil, parchment paper, deli wraps, like a plastic container back, really good use of recycling for some packaging. I know, like when you get rubber stamps, they always come on a like the clear rubber stamps always come on a piece of acetate. That would be a really good backing also. The craft mat is another really, really good one. Anything that's going to be a non-sticky thing, or a paper towel, right? Because you don't want that paper towel to, or I'm sorry, you don't want that glue, if you're a messy gluer like me, to get all over the place. So another thing that I wanted to glue, I just wanted to kind of play around and try, because again, now I have all this epoxy, right? What am I going to do with it? So I want to try to glue this little seashell into the back of this this sand dollar charm. And then I think we are going to be done with our expose on glue. And now, of course, I'm going to have to go out to Target and do my pickup because my husband did not give me quite the amount of warning that I needed, but I'll take that up with him later. So again, I've got probably about, I don't know, 15 more minutes to play around with things. I brought some flatbacks out, which I would definitely need a little toothpick to do the adhering of that. But just really, really strong, very professional grade glue to work with. Again, safety gloves, even though they make it a little bit of a challenge for me, at least, to actually touch things and pick things up and put them. I don't want to get too part epoxy on my skin for sure. So that is the overview on the 4 different types of glues that are in Michaels that Beadalon carries. Now, keep in mind that there are a ton of more, different types, different flavors, different varieties. I shouldn't say flavors, different varieties of glues in the glue aisle at Beadalon, not at Beadalon, at Michaels. There are all different kinds of glues out there, but my takeaway message for everybody is to make sure that you read the safety warnings on the packaging. And Kelly, if you can go ahead and take the upright camera for me, I would appreciate it. Thank you. I always forget. Keep my glasses on. That 2-part epoxy is definitely needs to be in a more well-ventilated room. Maybe we should have had class outdoors today. That would have been a good idea, although it's a little bit cold here in southeastern Pennsylvania. So just to review, 4 different types of glues. We have the GS Hypo Cement, which is great for silk cord when you're doing your pearl knotting. We have the 2 types of Bead Fix Gel and regular Bead Fix, which are great for using elastic for knots on stretchy cord, for gluing memory wire end caps to memory wire, and for a ton of different uses. That's kind of my go-to glues for most things in jewelry making. And then of course the workhorse of it all is the 2-part epoxy. Safety first in all of these different glues and all of these different applications. And again, really just scratch the surface today on all things glue. Be sure to check out the resources on the Michaels website, the resources on the Beadalon website. And if in doubt, please do your research, read the safety instructions, and feel free to reach out to Beadalon with any more specific questions about what glue to use for what. It can get very complicated, but it doesn't have to be. It's with following a few very simple rules, you can generally get your things to stick together pretty well. So I am Meredith for Beadalon and Artistic Wire. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today as I bumbled my way through talking about glues and adhesives. Again, so much more information out there and so many different types of glues for any and all of your adhesion needs. You can catch me on the Michaels Community Classroom on many Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Sarah Lovecraft also teaches on behalf of us on Wednesdays at 2 o'clock and also on some Saturdays at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. And of course, there are so many amazing instructors that are part of the Michaels Community Classroom to check out in all different media, all different materials, all different types of jewelry making, and all types of different crafting as well. So hopefully you will either catch me live or on the replay. And until next time, happy beading.